to this program to celebrate World Tourism Day 2019. With me are my 4 esteemed panelists to discuss the topic Tourism and Jobs, a better future for all. I will introduce them in a minute. Also joining me are my in-studio guests comprising students with interest in tourism, artists and senior officials and managers who work in the tourism sector. Now to my panelists. Ready for your introductions?
Yes.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you everyone for joining me. So we will start with ladies first. Jerona Antal is the operations manager of Lucian Country Life Incorporated, a local heritage attraction site owned and managed by the Anthony family since October 2007. Jerona manages a team of tour guides, administrative and other operational staff. Her role entails planning, directing, and coordinating all company operations through the implementation of effective methods and strategies. Ms. Antal is also responsible for improving the performance, sustainability, and profitability of the business. A graduate of the St. Joseph's Convent and the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. Welcome, Jerona.
Thank you.
Next, we have Teddyson John. Born in Castries, St. Lucia, to a deeply spiritual home, Teddyson John started his musical journey at a young age, nurtured in the church. In 2007, he made a move from gospel and R&B to soca, taking his career to another dimension. This move earned him the Groovy Soca Monarch title in 2015, putting him on an international map that made him become a household name locally, regionally, and internationally. He is well known for many popular songs, including one of my favorites, Pali Pali. Next, we go to Sean DeVoe, General Manager of IGY Rodney Bay Marina. As the General Manager of the IGY Rodney Bay Marina, Sean brings extensive marine operations and management to the facility. Prior to his promotion, Sean served as boatyard manager, followed by operations manager. Before joining the marina in 2012, he also served as operations manager of a catamaran company for 4 years. His passion for boating and the marine industry stems from his upbringing, as his father managed Gunters Bay Marina in Port Castries. He's a St. Lucian native and is active in his community. He's the president of the St. Lucia Gaming Association, and he has received his bachelor's of science in sociology, minor in business at the University of West Ontario in Canada. Last but not least, we have Mr. Sanovnik Destang, Executive Director of the Bay Gardens Resorts. Welcome, Mr. Destang.
Thank you.
Mr. Destang is a shareholder of the Bay Gardens as well. He's a chartered accountant, he's a chartered financial analyst, and he has helped engineer a dramatic turnaround in the fortunes of the Bay Gardens, using what is known as a digital marketing strategy that's focused on engaging better yields through direct bookings. He has earned numerous awards, including the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year Award for 2 consecutive years. He has received the Caribbean Hotel and Resort Investment Summit. He is also an award winner of 2014 Rising Star Award. Mr. Desdang is a graduate of Schulich School of Business at York University, where he obtained a bachelor's in business administration. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what we're going to do first, we're going to take some comments from each one of our panelists. I don't know who wants to go first, who is ready first, but what we will do, each of the panelists will give us some introductory remarks on the topic of tourism and jobs and how it relates to the local industry, specifically, particularly within their sector. You want to go first, Mr. Destang?
Sure, not a problem. Excuse me. So, I think the topic this year for World Tourism Day of Tourism and Jobs, a Better Future for All is very appropriate, certainly in our reality in St. Lucia. Because when you think of tourism and its place in economic development, a very appreciated impact of tourism is its impact on job creation. because without the job creation, you can't have a very buoyant consumer sector, which has often been one of our constraints on economic development in St. Lucia and the Caribbean due to high levels of unemployment. Globally, 1 in 10 persons who work, 1 in 10 workers in this world are actually employed in the tourism sector. And in St. Lucia, of course, it's even higher because we're highly tourism dependent. So that's stating the obvious. We have 340 employees working with us at Bay Gardens Resorts. And with us having 233 rooms right now, we're only about 5% of the total room stock on island. So, I mean, there's thousands of people employed directly in the tourism sector. But what's more important is the indirect impact of tourism on job creation. So we consider the 340 employees who work for us part of our extended family. But even beyond that, we've got other extended family who are indirectly employed through our activities, such as farmers, local manufacturers. I mean, we spend a lot of money that circulates throughout the local economy. Banks and insurance companies, all of them benefit from the activity that tourism generates and hence creates jobs in these sectors as well.
Sure.
And even independent restaurants has also appreciated the impact that we have on them. It's true that a lot of hotels are shifting towards all-inclusive, but at our hotel we have a dine-around program that's included in our all-inclusive plan, whereby we actually allow persons who are on the all-inclusive plan to dine out at independent restaurants. And over the last 3 years, we've pumped about 600,000 EC dollars into the hands of these restaurants that include Spice of India, Razzmatazz, Buzz, and others who are part of our dine-around program. So that is an indirect impact that's often underappreciated. What also is very interesting is that the type of, and this is very important for the students, the type of personnel that we need in the hotel sector, and in particular, it's not just your typical, what you'd expect. It's not just cooks and restaurant servers and housekeepers. They're important. That's where the bulk of the jobs are. But we also need accountants. We need marketing specialists, especially for an expertise in online marketing. We need graphic designers, events managers. And what's so interesting is a lot of these people have used the experience that they've gained at hotels such as Bay Gardens to springboard careers in other industries, and often to launch their own businesses. And last but not least, the type of employee that that is hired in the industry helps to create a very level playing field. And a lot of people don't realize and appreciate that. Tourism really helps to create a more level playing field for the youth, for women, and also for locals. So at Bay Gardens Resorts, we've had 4 general managers, throughout our 25-year history, and all of them have been women. Okay, so that is very notable, and that is something that you're seeing more and more.
Sure.
And at Bay Gardens right now, your boss, your manager, or your supervisor is more and more likely to be a millennial, okay, and a woman. Okay. That represents about 70% of our workforce are female, and the majority of our managers, I say 70-75% are female, and they generally tend to perform just as well or better than their male counterparts. Okay. So it creates that level playing field that that we want when we speak of inclusivity, and I'll speak more to that later on.
Sure.
But that is, when I think of job creation, it goes beyond the direct impact, but also the indirect impact of tourism on job creation.
Okay, sure. So let's take the entertainer next. The great entertainer, Teddy St. John.
For me, music plays a very important role, and I think there's so much more that we can do if everybody realizes the impact of what the music can do. Okay, in my field of music or soca music, for example, for carnival, it's what really attracts people, to the islands. This year we had a record number of increases in tourism arrivals, and I will be bold to say it's because of the influence of the music. Right. Is what have people come in. So I think there's a lot. Everybody will do their individual bit to make it work, but there's a lot that can be implemented, so we understand the importance of what it can bring forward to the country. creates jobs for young people. For me, my story is a long story. I show we may not even have a lot of tape.
We won't have enough
yeah, we won't
to
have enough
capture
tape.
your
That's
story.
another segment, but I'm just a product of somebody with passion who never took no for an answer and kept on pushing no matter what. There's a lot of young people in here with the hunger for music, and sometimes it gets depressing when you think about it, but I'm telling you not to really look at your immediate circumstance. So you understand, let your passion and let everything roll out. If you really care about it, everything else will fall right into place.
Okay, great. So let's take the lady next. I don't want to leave her last. It's against the rules. We
Yes,
take Jerona
it is.
next. Yes.
Okay, so I believe that under the theme, tourism provides a lot of job opportunities for persons on the island. In relation to my sector, as a member of a locally owned heritage site, tourist heritage site, where 90% of our business comes from cruise tourism, it's very important that we try to keep our passenger spend very high, so that we could have the revenue and the income flowing throughout the industry.
Sure.
And to do that, we need to look at how we could improve our passenger spend, how we could add value to our product, what makes St. Lucia unique, the uniqueness of our people. People come to St. Lucia because they want to see how we live. They want to be a part of it. They want to interact. What sets us apart from other islands, other cruise destinations? Is it the same crafts that we see in the market, or can we do our clay? How can we make our products and make ourselves more unique? And how can we use what we have and be authentically who we are to help develop the tourism product? And in turn, that also helps create jobs. People could use their skills and their talents to help earn revenue in the tourism business.
Yeah, that's for sure, because we're speaking a lot more about giving an authentic local experience.
Exactly.
Yes, for us to bring more business for sure. So let us take our IGY Rodney Bay Marina manager next, Mr. Sean DeVoe. Last but not least.
No, I think just following on from what the other panelists said, and I think it's important to, just look at the diversity within the panelists that are here, all related to the tourism industry. And I was just thinking, as Tedison and the previous panelists were speaking, is that within us, a vessel will arrive to the marina for Carnival, stay at Bay Gardens, and do activities
And do
in
yeah.
St. So here you have it with one guest, whether it be from St. Vincent, Martinique, which tends to be a big market that we tap into during the Carnival season and stuff like that. As it relates to the diversity and job creation in St. Lucia, the nice thing about the yachting industry is that it's very minimal in terms of vertical integration. So you will have somebody today arrive on the boat, they will jump in my taxi today and have a dinner or breakfast or lunch at your restaurant, and go to a Tedison John show, and then tomorrow they're jumping in another taxi to go to an activity or to the hotel. So that money is spent right at a ground level, and it stays within, as the other panelists were saying, trying to create that economy where the money stays in St. Lucia. In terms of job creation, it goes beyond, in terms of trickling down into the extended family, as Sanav spoke about, because you need to repair the boats, you need to support the boats, but not only that, you need to provision the boats, whether it be sail repairs, mechanical, fiberglass work and stuff like that. And so the diversity in terms of the job creation within all of these sectors is
great.
Unspeakable.
It's very tremendous. Okay, so if you're looking at skills, as you talk about all the skills and jobs, global trends in the industry is really, changing how jobs and skills are generally, in the world, but even in the tourism sector even more. How would you say that there are gaps in the St. Lucia tourism industry now? How are we addressing that, or what gaps do you see, and how do you think we can address the gaps? In terms of skills, yeah. You can answer, and Mr. Deskan can also answer.
Well, within our industry, obviously, technology keeps moving. The vessels are coming with new technologies, satellite, the engines are improving. So the demand is always there in terms of having to upgrade the skill level and continuing to push the barriers. It's a bit of a double-edged sword in that, the arrivals, it's at a level right now where you can't be too specialized in one product because the demand for that one product is not necessarily there. So you must be skilled and certified in many other brands. For example, you might be doing an engine, but you also have the generators and the other stuff that go with it. So the skill level is here on island to support the change in demands, but we hope that it continues to grow with the demands being
What about
requested.
you, Mr. Destan? What are the gaps and how are we addressing the skills? Are we ready? Are we upgrading all the time?
So when it comes to the skill levels, yes, the skill sets are often here on island for certain positions, but there are 3 areas in particular I want to point out where I see some gaps and where we need to improve upon. One is it's extremely hard to find local executive chefs. We've been very fortunate. Our executive chefs are currently are local and have been traditionally, but that can be very hard. And certainly it speaks to the need for a culinary institute, which I know that there have been various efforts to have one, but it's really important. We have a lot of course, we have a lot of people who cook extremely well and do very well at the Taste of the Caribbean and other regional competitions, but the managerial aspect is often missing out.
Sure.
Also, a lot of people underappreciate the importance of technology in the hotel sector.
Yeah.
And a lot of hotels, you have a lot of chains who have a head office that can do things like managing their rates, revenue management, and their online marketing outside. But there are also a lot of us who are in between who need to do it on island, and often that skill set is unavailable. What I found ourselves doing at Bay Gardens is learning it ourselves and then teaching others. Our marketing team does a lot of things in-house, whether it's the graphics, whether it's the online marketing, social media marketing, and all of that. We don't outsource it, but we've had to learn it and teach them in-house. Of course, they sometimes leave and then they are able to take those skills elsewhere, but that's all part of the development of the workforce, in my opinion.
Yes.
And lastly, tradespeople.
Right.
Yes, we have carpenters and AC techs and all of these things, but the technology is also changing in that as well. And there's lots of opportunities for skilled tradespeople in the hospitality sector. Maintaining a property requires skills in any and everything that you can imagine. And I think that is one of the gaps that we often find, that we don't have. It's not that we don't have the people, but there aren't enough of them. It's hard to find, and then the tech is changing all the time. Something as simple as maintaining an AC. I mean, you've got inverter technology, you've got VRF, you've got all of these things coming on board, and often you find that you have to train the staff yourself so that they understand it. So I certainly think that those are 3 skills-related gaps that are missing that we need to work on.
Okay, super. So we are preparing for our first break, but just before we break, I want you to think about this question. Although I hear you speak so well about, all these different types of jobs in the industry and how we are managing it, but there's still this thinking that there's the interest in the industry is waning, especially among young people. I want you to think about that. How could we re-energize interest in the sector, if you agree that the interest is waning? Okay, so we can take that question after we take a break.
Them tourism thing self, they bring in no money. Who say that? Tourism make enough jobs, which then make a better future for all of us. Just imagine, a couple from overseas planning a vacation to St. Lucia. They contact the travel agent who check with the businesses in St. Lucia, like the tour operators. When they get to St. Lucia on the airport, they need to get transported to the hotel, of course. This is where I come in. Taxi driver at your service. On my bus, I always have a guide who educates the tourists about the sights there. There are hundreds of bus drivers like me. Even on the way to the hotel, they can stop by Den Reside and get some local bread. At the hotel, the couple meet enough employees, from front desk to entertainment to housekeeping, even managers sometimes. Jobs for ya. Employment. And I will big up St. Lucia. Wow, guys. I look at tourism in a different way now. Yeah, man.
Welcome back to the program. We're speaking on tourism and jobs on the occasion of World Tourism Day 2019. I'm going to throw my question back to the esteemed panelists. How can we re-energize interest in the sector? Because there's some factions that believe that the interest is waning. You want to take that question?
I think that, how would I answer that question? We could probably start with something like incentives,
right?
Giving out incentives to the staff, giving them goals and targets, short-term goals and long-term goals and targets, so that they could see exactly where they are and what their goal is and what they'd like to do. And I think that if we go deep into what are the young people interested in, into the social media. Social media is also a great marketing tool, so we could get them and plug them into that and let them do their thing.
And let them see how they can link that with tourism.
Yes, obviously with guidance,
sure.
But I think that if we provide incentives to a lot of the staff, because they would perform.
Okay, great. So I have a question on local entertainment. I want to ask Teddyson this question. We see that the local entertainment sector is growing globally. So nowadays we have the likes of the dinner segment. Do you guys like it?
Love it.
The growth of contemporary soca. We have the new branded shows like the Euphoria that you have created. The growth of many jazz artists. We now have this rebranded jazz that's changing the local music scene a lot. With so many avenues that are changing the scene. In what way would you say that local entertainment contributes to the tourism product?
Just by the creation of different avenues for people to be a part of. For instance, with Euphoria, I have an amazing team, behind me, a creative director building, entire band, dancers. It's like it's an amazing production that we put on. So we try to do something different where we can actually showcase what is, local. Also on this event, it's a platform that you have some up and coming artists that are promising. Right. They get opportunities to be on that event as
Singing,
well.
Dancing,
yeah. We do that. So from the lights, from stage to the catering, everything. It's a way that we give back and what we use to tie it into tourism. I think if people on the outside has a genuine interest in how things are done, so if you understand it, then you learn how to appreciate it. I think everybody in tourism is in their version of what works with them. Yes. If we take an opportunity, like if I took an opportunity to understand where he's coming from in terms of big hands and what they do, the IG, how it ties in, right. We'll learn to respect everybody's vibe.
Yeah. And at the same time create mergers.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, he put it so eloquently when he said, okay, you come off a boat, you come to the marina, you get ready, you come to Euphoria, then you go big gardens, and then you go to a talk. That's what it is. I think everybody has that role, but we just need to have a genuine interest and understand how everything all ties up.
Yeah.
Okay,
if I could just add on just very quickly to that. We don't really appreciate, and we've really not taken advantage of the impact of local artists and what it could have on tourism. A very strange thing happened after Carnival this year, sorry. My staff in our reservations department called me and said, we need to do something about our rates for July next year. I said, why? Because people are already booking for Carnival 2020. After Carnival 2019 is finished. So literally you have a situation where July, I'd say mostly due to Carnival, has become a second high season for a lot of people. So I don't think we are really even starting to scratch the surface of what can be accomplished in terms of the linkages between local entertainment and tourism.
And tourism potential.
Absolutely. We're not even there yet.
Yeah. So I think now is a good time to start taking questions from our in-studio guests. We can take our first question from Francis Alexander. Francis?
All right, so good morning, panelists. My question today is, with the limited number of businesses we have in St. Lucia and increasing unemployment rates, how do you plan to create job opportunities in the tourism sector, excluding the idea of entrepreneurship?
Who's going to take that question? You want to take it, Sean? How do you create jobs, more opportunities that doesn't include entrepreneurship?
Right. I think as it was alluded to earlier on, if you have that passion, but then also if the diversity that is now being explored within the tourism industry, I think like Sanov said, you're now looking for social media specialists. I'm sure Tedison is probably looking for sound engineers, so those avenues, as we try to expand our business, will definitely need the demand for specialized classifications in terms of whether it be captain. In my industry, it would be a captain. It would definitely be a sail maker or something of that sort. As the industry grows, the demands for the Arc Arrival now has gone to 3 events, for example. We have the World Arc, we have Arc Plus, and we have the general Arc, the traditional Arc, what I call it. And those are now booked out for next year already. Yep. So the demand for the industry is here, and as that grows, obviously we need more people to supply that demand, and eventually that will create the jobs in diverse industries.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Blossom Regis. Regis, go ahead.
I don't really need this, to be honest. My voice is pretty loud. First of all, I really like what Jerona said about how people who are coming to the island are really looking to see the way we live our lives. And I think that's the only thing that can really make us unique, in our tourism products. Our people are so unique and our culture is so unique. And I think more emphasis needs to be placed on that. But I'd like to pose my question to Tedison, because as we were speaking earlier, it goes to what you were saying, where you were just living your life and you were pursuing your passion, and you made this amazing career for yourself out of that. So I'd like to ask you, you've transitioned from simply performing in hotels to finding far bigger opportunities outside of this initial sector. So what do you think are some of the strategies that can be used to overcome challenges faced by other persons in the creative industries?
Okay, when anybody looking at me or looking at my story, you're just looking at somebody that never took no for an answer. You understand? Somebody that is fueled by passion to what he loves. Everybody that know me know I would do something to do with music. From school, from being suspended in school. Sorry, can I say that on TV? from just being that person that just love what they do. I think if you have a true passion for what you do and you're real about it, your passion will place you in positions. We had that conversation when we were coming, and I call it, passion placement. You understand? Or position placement. Before I went into or soca music, from church into jazz and all that kind of stuff, I used to work in the resorts. From activities, entertainment coordinator, Sandals, entertainment manager, Smuggler's Cove, all that kind of stuff. I used to do these, things. All these things helped in forming who I was today. There are a lot of kids growing up, academics is not their thing. You understand? They can use different forums to do what they want to do, their passion. So for me, I just decided to use what I knew, which was music, until I started to position myself and started to network with certain people to allow, me to just, hey, all right, I'm doing it, and I'm not close to where I want to get yet. It's not something to say, I'm there already. It's a lot of work. It didn't nothing to say you reach, all right, when you get on that stage, all right, I've made it. Nah, I'm still in the position of maintaining, you understand, that, and work hard all the time. We're talking in the green room. I was telling them we already recording for next year. You know, it end of joke thing from how Carnival is right now is when you do good and you put in that kind of amount of work into it, you can last throughout. It's not only about your own carnival. There's so many different islands, you know, where people have carnivals, and where, I mean, even your employment opportunities, you being able to touch all these islands, every different show, every, you know, arena, all these things are stuff that only passion can bring. So if I had to look at the industry or what is it in St. Lucia, sometimes the truth is it would get depressing, especially for young people growing up and wanting to do certain things. It will, but I don't think there's nothing that can beat passion. If you're passionate, you will wake up in the morning, you will get it done. You will get up, make calls. You'll not be on social media, mind other people's business. You will try to network and see, okay, if I'm an artist or if I'm a guitarist, let me see if I can link. It's so easier these days with social media than it was before. You can get anybody you want by just linking them and tagging them. You tag them, bother them. I had people bother me until they get it, you know. So the same way I used to bother people, you understand? I understand that. I wanted to get in that. I wanted that writer, all right, I wanted that engineer, I wanted that person to do something for me. I was always tagging, sending messages until I say, boy, oh Lord. You know, okay, I've had musicians, just short, I'm talking too much, hold on. I've had musicians, like guys like Dwight. He actually is one of my musicians that was with me before. He's actually on tour with Morgan Heritage right now, Dwight and O'Neill Joseph. These are guys that from the time I was playing, one day I remember doing a sound check and Dwight just always coming around. Yeah, matter, they ain't getting paid for them, there's always coming around. What is that? All right, Eddie, or boss, I can do this. There's one called Rashad. When I'm doing a sound check, Rashad takes his saxophone and come on stage. You understand? And sound check into like he's a part of the show. Okay. I'm like, Rashad, what you do? But it's like, boss, I really want I want you to hear me. And boom, he knew all my music. Okay. Number one, he was prepared. Some of us, we want things, we want, and when you get the opportunity to get it, you don't know what to do with it. I've been in that situation.
Okay, great. So we're going
Sorry, I'm talking too much.
It's fine. Yes, this is TV. We have to move on. So we have another question, and a lot of these questions are coming out about job because we're discussing tourism and jobs. Our next question is coming from Rahim Joseph.
Thank you. The question is, how can hotels form linkages with local artists in developing quality products for sale to guests? So I'm thinking that would be Mr. Destan.
Sure, linkage is one of my favorite words. You know, when I was the president of the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association, I made linkages one of our priorities, and it still is today. We started the virtual agricultural clearinghouse with our first focus, of course, being on farmers and using WhatsApp technology again to link farmers to hoteliers, and it grew very successfully. We had about 400 farmers in the program, generating hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of economic activity. Since I've demitted office, we've expanded that program now to include other sectors, entertainers and arts and crafts, manufacturers and so on. So our linkages program has grown. And I think in terms of how you know, you can form those better linkages, certainly becoming a member of the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association, or sorry, St. Lucia Hospitality and Tourism Association, the name has just been changed, to again focus on that broader linkage between hospitality and other sectors. So certainly becoming a member and linking with the St. Lucia Hospitality and Tourism Association, becoming part of that linkages program yourself, would introduce you to the hotels. We have a number of events, both on an SLHT level and on a Bay Gardens level, where people who are in the arts and crafts sector can get exposure. Because at the end of the day, guests who, when they come to St. Lucia, they want authenticity. They don't want things that are made in China. They don't want music from. They don't want to hear music from other islands. They want to experience St. Lucia in its entirety, and to take something back and say, I went to St. Lucia and this is what I experienced. So that is very important. It's not, linkages is not just a buzzword. It's not just a PR stunt. It literally is our survival as hotels at stake, because people expect that and they want that. And if they don't get it here, they're going to go to another island that is keeping it real, so to speak. So if we, so those are some of the opportunities. Certainly at Bay Gardens, we have our managers cocktail, where local artisans and local artists get to display their artwork and their products. We have it on Mondays at Bay Gardens Hotel, Wednesdays at the Beach Resort, Thursdays at the Marina Haven. We also have, during the cruise ship season, we also do a showcase on the beach where we actually invite local artisans and people from all different sectors to showcase again to the cruise ship guests, because we get a number of people who are here on a day pass. So these are some of the opportunities, certainly forming better linkages yourselves with the SLHJ, because linkages between tourism and the rest of the economy has certainly been a major focus of ours.
Okay, so we're ready for our second break. So after the break, we'll take our next question from Kushal Truzel.
Them tourism thing self, they bring in no money. Who say that? Tourism make enough jobs, which then make a better future for all of us. Just imagine, a couple from overseas planning a vacation to St. Lucia. They contact the travel agent who check with the businesses in St. Lucia, like the tour operators. When they get to St. Lucia on the airport, they need to get transported to the hotel, of course. This is where I come in. Taxi driver at your service. On my bus, I always have a guide who educates the tourists about the sights there. There are hundreds of bus drivers like me. Even on the way to the hotel, they can stop by Denry side and get some local bread. At the hotel, the couple meet enough employees, from front desk to entertainment to housekeeping, even managers sometimes. Jobs for ya. Employment. And I will big up St. Lucia. Wow, guys. I look at tourism in a different way now. Yeah, man.
Welcome back to the program. We are speaking today on the observance of World Tourism Day 2019, and the topic is tourism and jobs. So we'll take our next question from our in-studio guest, that is Kushal Truzel.
Good morning, panelists.
Good morning.
Right. In light of continued safety concerns in the industry, how does your organization recruit personnel to provide adequate security to visitors? And what are some of the key security measures which you have implemented? And that question is directed to Solution Country Life.
Okay.
What are the safety concerns in the industry, and how have you provided adequate security?
Okay. In terms of providing adequate security, right now, currently, we don't have a whole team of security guards with guns and all that now. But what we do have, and we have screened them and recruit, we have 2 persons who actually live on property 24/7, providing general security, in addition to a monitored 4K camera security system that you could, technology right now, you could access it on your phone, you could see what's happening there, what's not happening there. In terms of security and safety for our visitors, we have a contingency plan that the guides and everyone who is employed with us knows. And we also do checks to make sure that everybody is on point with what they're supposed to do, what happens in case of an emergency. Every day we do daily checks. Our maintenance guys go to the trails, they visit the property, they see whether the grounds are in order, are the railings in order. We also have public liability insurance for our company to make sure that should in case anything happens beyond our control, that we covered. Another aspect of safety, all our guides, everyone who's employed with us has first aid training that's up to date. Our staff in the kitchen who serves the food are up to date with their food and safety, health and safety. So we make sure our licenses are in order. We make sure that our staff and everyone is aware of what the contingency plan is, and that we also have cell phones that we use to communicate a few years ago we had walkie-talkies, now we have cell phones.
You've upgraded, so
We
that's
have
great.
cell phones.
Very good.
But those are some of the things that we use to make sure that guests, visitors, clients who come to our establishments feel safe and are safe.
Okay, great. That's a very good answer. So we're going to take our next question from John Emmanuel.
Thank you very much. Before I get into my question, I want to just make one quick comment. I think that we often overlook that of customer service. And I really think the hospitality industry can teach many other sectors a thing or two about customer service. We tend to overlook that component. The type of customer service you get from the hospitality industry, I dare say, you get from almost nowhere else. And it's a nice thing that we can pass on to other sectors in the private as well as the public service. Having said that, I want to direct my question to you, Sean DeVoe. The idea of challenges in the yachting sector, I can imagine it having many. What, though, would you say is the biggest challenge or challenges that face that particular sector that's very, very much diverse? And essentially, Sean, what keeps you up at night?
Need a whole show for that. But no, I mean, well, to be honest with you, and as you know, as expressed earlier on, and I'm sure it goes within the sector generally, but what keeps me up at night is security. Security. Essentially, the yachtsmen and women are arriving to St. Lucia in their homes. Their boat is their home, and just like you and I drive to our home when we go to bed and fall asleep, with the anticipation that we're going to be safe, we expect the same if I'm sleeping on my boat anchored out in front of Bay Gardens or Sandals or wherever it may be. So off the top, that is definitely number one. As to the other concerns that I have is I think that St. Lucia has a great potential in terms of where we are located geographically, the seats that we have coming in, and what we have to offer in terms of beauty, the facilities and the support service that we have on island for the yachting industry. My greatest concern is that we might miss the boat, because you now have Grenada that is coming up fast and furious. Within the last 5 years, nobody really knew about Grenada. Now Grenada has one of the biggest boatyards in the region. And so from my aspect is that we tailor what we have, we nourish it, and then we expand on it so that it becomes a sustainable industry. Whether through legislation, through procedures and processes. Right now in St. Lucia, we don't have the same procedure at the airport as we have in the seaport. A seaport has about 4 more documents that you need to fill out rather than the airport. What's the difference? I don't see a big difference between arriving on a plane and arriving on a boat. So just little procedural changes like that, just making it easier to do business. And by saying do business is by welcoming the guests to St. Lucia. That's what we need to focus on.
Okay, great. Our next question is from a student, Antasia Sherry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The General Secretary of the United Nations World Tourism Organization stated that employment in tourism is a catalyst for equality and inclusivity. Can you comment on that in the St. Lucian context?
Who's going to take that question? You want to take it, Mr. Destang?
Sure, no problem. So you may have heard earlier, and I'm sure I'm looking at the students here, and I think what I'm seeing here in the gender balance in the crowd really shows what is happening in the hospitality industry right now. As I mentioned, your manager, certainly at Bay Gardens, is more and more likely nowadays to be a millennial and to be a woman. That is the reality. That is what is happening. And it's not something we've deliberately engineered. It's more a case of who has the cream rises to the top, who has really pushed themselves forward in the industry. And at Bay Gardens, of course, our managing director, Joyce Destang, is a woman and one who believes in balance and in life, work hard and play hard, and also make time for family. That can be a challenge, obviously, in the hospitality industry as you move up. But what's really interesting when I look at our 3 general managers, all of them are single moms who have raised very successful and well-rounded children themselves. So it's clear that there are a lot of success stories there for women, and the tourism sector really allows you to do that. I think that the tourism sector really plays to a lot of women's strengths when it comes to empathy for both internal and external guests. Not saying that guys don't have that, obviously, but it certainly plays well to women's strengths. Organizational skills, time management, which I tend to think that women do a little bit better than us guys.
Of course. Even I would take the credit.
Yeah, you take the credit for that. But those are some of the skill sets that make them, I have found that have made them very successful managers. And the tourism sector recognizes that. And the typical manager now in the hospitality sector is not a male expat anymore. It hasn't been that in St. Lucia for a while, and it certainly is just absolutely not the case at our hotels. When you look at the makeup of our management team, I mean 70% of our employees at Bay Gardens are women, and that's represented about 75% of our management team thereabout, and 100% of our general managers. So that certainly speaks to inclusivity, and of course they're all local and regional. We've got one Dominican general manager, but we consider her local as well.
Right, sure.
So when you look at that, it's clear that the face of tourism is changing.
Yes.
A number of our employees, just before I wrap up, I know I'm speaking a bit, it's contagious. A lot of our we have both the SLHTA and the CHTA have a Young Leaders Program, and that Young Leaders Program is aimed at developing the next generation of management for the hospitality sector. I'm very proud that we've got one of our staff in the SLHTA Young Leaders Program, one of our supervisors, and 4 of our managers in the CHTA Young Leaders Program. They're all women, which is just, and I thought maybe it was very unique to us. But when I got the picture of the 21 young leaders in the CHTA program, I counted 5 males, 5 men and 16 young ladies, all from the Caribbean. And it's clear that, and then you also look at the fact that our current CHTA president, Patricia Afonso Das, is a woman. She was preceded by Caroline Trebetskoy of St. Lucia, a woman, and she is to be succeeded by Karen Witt. So we've gone from only having Berthia Pal being the lone beacon of hope for women at the CHTA level to having now 3 straight female presidents at the CHTA level. So it's clear that the face of Caribbean tourism is changing, and it really speaks to how inclusive tourism can be, especially when it comes to gender inclusivity.
Okay, great. So I think we have time for 2 more questions. Our next question is coming from Timothy Ferdinand. Timothy?
How do I get into that program?
What was that?
How do I get into that
Okay,
program?
thank you. My question is directed to Mr. Deveau, IGY. We know that the yachting sector requires highly skilled individuals. And a few years ago, there was a call for more training in TVET for the skills associated with yachting. So I'd like you to talk to us a bit, or educate us a bit on what types of jobs are available in the yachting industry, and has St. Lucia been able to respond in producing more of the expertise required in that sector?
Thanks for that question, and it's a very good question. It definitely has the awareness for the jobs available has definitely improved. Not to make good out of the bad of Irma and Maria that happened a few years ago, but what definitely happened for St. Lucia is that it opened up the gates for yachtsmen and women to discover us, if you want to call it that, because there was no more St. Martin and the northern region, so a lot of them arrived here. In terms of the push, you now have the Just Sail program with James and Pepsi that do that every summer, supported by the TEF of the SLHTA, and that is an exceptional program that continues to give avenues to young persons to get into the industry. As Tedison spoke earlier on, and I can exactly see where he's coming from. When you have that passion and you align yourself with certain individuals or certain industries or certain aspects of it, and you just don't take no for an answer, then you will find your way. And I'm testament to that. Nobody taught me about boating in a school. Unfortunately, the academic system in St. Lucia, and most of the Caribbean, not just St. Lucia, is about books, and 2 + 2 is 4. But if you think outside of that, then unfortunately the school system doesn't really accommodate for you. And so you have programs like the Just Sail program with James and Pepsi that give people that avenue to say, okay, I wasn't too good on the 2 + 2 4 book, but I can actually drive a boat better than any captain in the Southern Caribbean. I can now become a certified diver and take guests down to the bottom of you know, the beast, as I call it, the pitons or something like that, to show them and be linked into the industry of tourism. And so you see programs being there, again, as St. Lucia appreciates and respects what the industry can provide. I think you will see avenues opening up far and wide. So the development for diversity within the industry is there. It still has a way to go. As again, Tennyson said, you know, when you get on stage, you're not there. You still have to work hard at it. But you see places like Antigua, for example, and St. Martin, far ahead of us in terms of diversity and supporting the industry.
Okay. Our final question is coming from Joe Dubois. Go on, Joe.
Hi.
Yeah,
Good morning, panelists.
Give Joe the mic.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, panelists, moderator, and all attending. It's edifying noting the movement of gender and how it impacts the industry. But also another instance or another concern too is that of emotional intelligence. Taking on a management role can be demanding. It can be even more challenging when the promotion places an employee in a role of supervision, supervising his former or his or her former co-workers. And this requires that manager to obviously make a change from peer relations to manager-employee relations. What tips do you have for this manager who is now supervising his or her former peers? Mr. Desta, I'm posing that to
This
you.
is going to have to be a brief answer, though, because we are quickly running out of time. You're going to take that, Mr. Desta?
No problem, no problem. Although I think the panelist to my left is even a better example of that, very recently promoted. But I think that in thinking of that question, I actually sought advice from some of my employees who, many of them are in the young leaders, many have gone from line staff to supervisor recently. I have my own thoughts, but I thought I'd get some of theirs. You know, one of our accounting supervisors said that always be transparent and fair in how you deal with other people, and have a high level of integrity and treat everyone with respect. That will allow your relationship with your co-workers, even those who worked under you, to be better thereafter. Our HR manager, who I know, Joe, you know very well, networking and also having a mentor, she noted as being very important, because there's almost no problem out there that you have faced that somebody else who with more experience has not faced. Our restaurant manager at Bay Gardens Hotel, she just won the Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm sorry, I'm not saying their names, I don't want to embarrass them on TV. But she said that you have to have a big picture view, and you need to build team spirit with your former workmates, and understand that you will make mistakes along the way, in that sense, but also just to learn from the mistakes and mistakes of others and move forward. And also setting clear expectations was noted by one of our managers. This manager in particular was probably the most reluctant manager that I ever promoted. She passed on the promotion twice, and I literally almost had to threaten to fire her for her to take the job. So she eventually has grown into a great manager, and she said you definitely need to have professional respect for everyone, and also being an example, and use the same yardstick. I think that's very important, using the same yardstick for everyone. It's never easy going from being a line staff to supervisor and managing your peers, but this is very good advice from some of our former managers who I've personally seen go from line staff to supervisor to manager successfully over the years.
Anything you want to add, Ms. Antal?
I was just saying thanks for the advice.
Okay. Did you move that way as well from
yes,
management position?
I started as an administrative assistant, then I moved to office administrator, and I have recently assumed the role of operations manager. And I think that some of those tips I actually try to implement and use. It's very difficult, it's a challenge, but the mentoring definitely is a must. You need somebody to be under, somebody to guide you and to help you, and so that you could grow. So thanks.
Not me. Thanks my team.
Thank you. Thank your team for me.
We have come to the end of our program where we've been discussing tourism and jobs in observance of World Tourism Day 2019. I want to thank all our esteemed panelists, Sean DeVoe, Jerona Antal, Sanovnik Destang, and Tennyson John. Thank you also to my in-studio guests. You were lovely. And thank you to our audience for watching. My name is Tekla Fontenay. See you next time.